Good morning, welcome to another video. So, yes, I am in bed, but what you can't see is that I have my iPad here. I am actually working. I've stayed in bed because it's one of those really cosy days. It's a bit grey and murky outside, and just the kind of day to take things slowly and really be cosy. So the plan for at least part of today is to get my big sketchbook out and play around with some ideas I've got for a character, for a competition. Now, I found out about this competition a bit too late. The closing date is tomorrow. By the time this video goes out, the closing date will have happened. So I'm not going to I normally tell, if I find out about competitions and things, I normally share the wealth. But there's no point me wasting breath going on about this competition because the closing date will have happened. If you ever want to find out about like competitions and stuff like that, I put them all up for free on my Patreon. So if you follow me for free on Patreon, you will get all the information that I have on like competitions that are coming up. Anyway, this competition, it popped up on my Instagram feed. It's a free competition, free to enter, but the closing date is tomorrow. So I'm going to play around in my big sketchbook and see if anything comes from it. I'm not going to force it. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. It's not paid work. But it could be fun. It could be a fun prompt to at least get me blobbing paints around and having fun playing with ideas again. So that'll be nice. But for the first part of the day at least, I need to do some actual like admin. Is it admin? Kind of. Well, kind of. I'm going to do some computer work, which is a little bit less creative, but it's very much needed. So, over on my Patreon, I have a drawing club called the Scribbles Aloud Drawing Club. And if you sign up on any paid tier, you are instantly a member of the Scribbles Aloud Drawing Club. And every month, we meet up on Zoom to practice drawing live together. So we meet up on Zoom. All the sessions are recorded, so if you can't ever make it live, you can access it afterwards. But we do a live session every month, and every month I provide images on a topic, and we join together for about 40 minutes on Zoom and practice time sketching. Now, if you know me, you'll know that I love time sketches. Time sketches have really unlocked something. I started doing them in 2023, and I found out about them from the Good Ship illustration. Time sketching for me is a really great way to loosen up and get and kind of detach yourself a little bit from the end result, like the pressure of it having to be perfect. Because if you've got 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to do something, you're not going to get a Michelangelo at the end of it. You're going to have practiced, you're going to have warmed up, you're going to have got your muscle memory added to. You're going to have built on your muscle memory, and sometimes that is enough when you're sketching and you're practicing. So we do that because time sketching is amazing, and it means we get to draw a lot of stuff. So we go through all these. Anyway, so I need to get the slideshow ready because in these sessions I provide the images for us to draw. If you join in, all you need to do is to bring yourself something to draw with and something to draw on, and maybe a cup of tea. And I provide the images and I share my screen and I do a slideshow and we go through all these images and I time it and all that stuff. So this month we're doing bikes because bicycles are tricky. I don't know if you've ever tried to draw a bicycle, but I don't know. Like if you're trying to draw a bicycle from memory, like, yeah, it's got two wheels, it's got a handlebar and a seat, but there's something that just happens in the middle that none of the bits actually fit together as they do on a bike. Most times if you draw a bike from memory, if that bike were to ever be made into metal, it would just fall apart instantly. So I thought it would be a good idea. It was actually a suggestion by one of my patrons when I put a shout out of things that they would like to draw. Yeah, bikes. I thought that was a great suggestion. So that's what we're going to be practicing. And hopefully by the end of it, we'll have a bit more muscle memory on how to draw bikes. And it's all good practice. But yeah, I need to get that slideshow ready and make sure it all fits within the 40-minute time slot that we've got. So that's the first bit, and that's what I'm doing now in bed. And then after breakfast and a shower, we'll get on with the rest of the day. So I've been playing around with some ideas that I've had for this competition that I mentioned earlier. It's a competition from the people at Picture Hooks. Picture Hooks are a great little organisation who support like emerging illustrators, and every now and then they open up competitions that are free to enter, and they're set around a theme. I've done one before which was set around the theme of "Oh No," and you had to do before and after illustration of a character in an "oh no" situation. Mine was an orangutan carrying a cake, a big birthday cake, and slipping on a banana peel. This one is, the theme is fearful and brave, something like that. Fearful and brave, scared and brave, fearful and brave. I've got until midnight tomorrow evening to do this, so I'm not going to spend loads of time, but last night I was thinking of some ideas that I could work on. So I've opened my big sketchbook, which is usually the way, as soon as I open my big sketchbook, ideas come flowing, but it's not happening today. Basically what I've done is, so I've had my ideas for my before and after. I mean, I might as well tell you because the competition is going to be finished by the time this goes live, so you're not going to be able to do the same thing as me. My idea was a seagull, maybe like a seagull baby or like a grown-up seagull, and it doesn't even matter the backstory. The seagull, a seagull standing on a cliff edge, looking out over at how high it is, at all the sea. And then the next scene is swooping around, being really happy. So that was the idea. And basically, what I've done so far, I've done 2 double-page spreads, and I've realised I've just done the same illustration lots of different ways, and I'm not really getting any playfulness in it. I'm not getting anything new. So I was thinking to loosen me up, because sometimes you have days like this where you just can't think of new ideas. To loosen me up, I'm going to do something that I think I heard about this from Katie Chappell from the Good Ship Illustration. And I think she's got a thing, and I think it's called 30 ideas in 30 minutes or something like that. And basically she sets a timer, she puts little like squares in her page, so she divides her page up, and for a set time she puts down any ideas just to fill the gaps, even if they're bad ideas, even if they don't make sense. You've got to get 30 ideas down in 30 minutes. Now I don't think I've got 30 ideas in me, but I might do like 20 for each, so 20 for the fearful, 20 for the brave, so 20 for each image. And I'm gonna maybe do 20 ideas in 20 minutes, and then hopefully that will spark some ideas. I'm going to get all ideas down, even rubbish ideas, absolutely silly ideas, things that probably won't work. I'm just going to get them, do like a brain dump, get them out of my head onto the page, and then I've got something to work with. And you never know, even when you're drawing those, the ideas that don't make sense, are a little bit silly, a little bit weird, it might, as you're drawing it, spark another idea for your next image. So that's what I'm hoping anyway, because I want a bit of a time scale. I mean, as I was for the last one, I was on a bit of a time scale for the last one. I don't think it's a bad thing working to a time scale. Sometimes the more time I've got to think about something and noodle over it, the more I kind of tidy the life out of it. So yeah. So basically my plan of action is to do that. And then in this sketchbook, I'm not going to do the finished illustrations, and I'm not even going to do the finished illustrations in paints. So I'm going to get some ideas down in my big sketchbook. And just for quickness, for ease, I'm going to then photograph my ideas and transfer them to my iPad, wherever it is, it's behind you, and do it digitally that way. Because if I was going to be doing it analog, so with paints and paper and paintbrushes, I'd need to either scan the piece or photograph it. Now, photographing relies on good light, which, I mean, it's all right today, not too bad. Scanning, they don't always pick up the right colours that you've painted with. So, and either way, you're going to need to do computer editing. So I'm going to need to edit the images. And I don't know, it just feels like in this time frame, it feels like there's just too many steps there. Like I could be painting, I could be drawing, I could be creating in the time that I'd have to set aside to do the computer editing. So that's why I'm going to do the finished piece on the iPad, and then that means that the colours are going to be true. The finished colours that I do on my iPad image are going to be the same colours they're going to see when they open it up on the computer in when they're looking through all the entries. Sorry, my brain stopped working for a second. So the colour's going to be true. It's going to be a true representation of what I've done. Sometimes when you draw in your sketchbook or draw it on paper and you transfer it to the computer, there's just some things that are just a little bit off. It might not be the case if you're a professional like publisher and stuff like that. They'll have the know-how and the technology to make things like mwah. But I don't. I've got a Canon. It's a TS5151 printer scanner, which is all right. It's good. But it sometimes misrepresents the colours that I scan. So then I've got to edit. I use Affinity to edit my stuff, which is kind of like Photoshop, but you pay for it. It's like a one-off payment. But then that relies on skills that I don't necessarily have a lot of. I've got enough to get by photo editing, but not, you know, I'm not a massive pro. So anything that I do editing wise is going to take a bit of time. So I think that's a good way forward for me. I think it's a good idea to proceed like that. But anyway, I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to do 20 ideas in 20 minutes, and then I'll maybe do 20 ideas for the first image and then 20 ideas for the second image. So it'll be 2 timers. And hopefully that'll give me enough and brain. I think the problem is my brain's not working. I think that will give me enough material to use when I'm working on my iPad. I can take my sketchbook downstairs with the iPad and have all of the information there, and yeah, I'm not going to overthink it too much. Let's just go. Let's just do it. So I'm finished. There was 20 minutes on each idea, and it still took me a while to get into it. Some of the images that I thumbnailed out were very similar to each other, but I figure it's quite good to do something like that because it lets your brains, as your hand's working on the image that you're on, even if it's very similar to the one you've done before, your brain's kind of working in the background, if you know what I mean. And actually by the end, I got some quite good ideas, things that I wouldn't have thought about, definitely wouldn't have thought about doing it that way if I just jumped straight into it. And I'll show you, if I just jumped straight into it and went with my first ideas. So my first idea was basically this, a bird kind of peering over the edge of a cliff. But really, can you tell that this is a cliff? Can you tell that this is water? I mean, obviously I'd colour it in. So I did variations on that theme. And by the end, I kind of got these two. which it gives you the same feeling of there's a bird who doesn't want to go over the edge. But I think this makes you actually feel, these two make you actually feel like this bird is scared. This bird does not want to go over the edge. Whereas this one could be a curious bird. It could just be looking. Whereas this one, or these two, have a bit more fear involved. I like this one because it's got some depth in it. It's got the background as well. So yeah, I think it's a very good task. It's a very good way of getting ideas for a task. Even if you do things that you know aren't really going to work, or they end up being the same image just in a different square. I think giving yourself 20 minutes and you've got to fill the squares, I don't know, I think it just gives your brain the space to put silly ideas down, so you can get past the silly ideas and onto something a bit more juicy. First things first for me is lunch. Rather than jumping straight into finished pieces now, I could do that, but I know that my brain would be like, this is so important now, I've got to do the finished pieces. I'm going to let my brain mull on these ideas for, I don't know, maybe the time it takes for me to eat a leftover vegetable pie from yesterday and watch an episode of Here We Go, which is a new BBC thing that I've started to watch, which is quite funny, quite like it. So I'll go and watch an episode of that, turn my brain off from actively thinking about this, and hopefully it'll be working in the background. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to photograph my favourite thumbnails from here and send them to my iPad, or photograph them on my iPad, open them up in Procreate and use them as a layer underneath the layers that I'm going to be working on. So I've got the original idea there, and I'll use that to build on. But definitely lunch first. I have now moved downstairs because, well, who's to say you've got to work at a desk? No one. So I've popped a fire on because it's a bit nippy and I've only got like 5 or 6 logs left outside, and once they're gone I can put a plant in their space. So I'm going to work down here in the living room with the fire on and just play with the ideas. So I've photographed these, some of these little ideas that we did before. Oh, and what I'm going to do, so the one I think I'm probably going to go for is the last one. So what I've done is I've just imported that image and I'll make it as big as I need it to be. Like that kind of, maybe. And then on my layers, I will make that, turn the opacity right down so it doesn't distract me too much. And then I'll add a layer on top, and then I'll start drawing on top of that layer. If you ever do that, make sure you don't accidentally all draw on the same layer, because the idea is that I'm going to draw on top of this, and then once, so for example, do it really roughly. Yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's my finished image. And then at the end, I'm going to hide the image underneath. And you don't want to draw on that image because then you won't be able to hide this, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just play around with this and have a bit of fun with it. Hello. Time has moved on. I've sat looking at my iPad for literal hours. Well, not just looking at it, I've been drawing as well. And you know the conclusion I've come to? I think this illustration would be better done analogue. My eyes are hurting. I don't know if maybe I've just stared at the iPad for too long in the night time, and my eyes are hurting, and maybe that's skewing my idea. But I'm basically going to put that to rest for now because I've been doing it for a good 4 hours and I don't feel like I've got any further really. So it's a problem for tomorrow, which is putting it right to the wire because tomorrow is the closing date. You okay? I've got to go and sort Rolly out. So I just thought I'd come on here and let you know that sometimes the best laid plans don't work, and it's hard to say embrace it because I really am so frustrated right now. I'm so frustrated that I've wasted all that time. But sometimes things don't work out, and being angry at it isn't going to solve the problem. So just do what you can and work with the kind of the sanity levels that you have. I know, I'm coming, my sweet boy. So I just wanted to share that with you. Sometimes you look at things on like Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that and you think everyone's got it figured out. We don't. we don't. So the best I've got at the moment today is a bunch of thumbnails, which is helpful because it's better than not having them. And that's how I'm seeing it. So tomorrow, let's see if we can get these illustrations finished. If I do it analog, I'm going to have to edit them on the computer. It's a tomorrow job. I'm not going to think about it now because it's 7:30 and my dinner's in the oven and I need to go and sort Rolly out. So I'm going to leave this video here and I'll catch you in the next one. So until then, bye.